Now, last year, I don't know that I felt that all the books were the worst of the year for me. But this year, oh yes. And I got 2 Riley Sagers on this list. Plus, it's mainly mystery thrillers. So get yourself a snack or something and let's just talk about it. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Nakia. Welcome to my channel. So it is that time of year. I love this time of year, not just because of the holidays, but I love seeing everyone's end of the year videos, the best of, worst of, most disappointing, all that good stuff. So we are here for my worst books of 2022 list. Now, I ain't giving no disclaimer. All these books on this list rub me the wrong way in some kind of way. And the way I sorted them was I went back and read a little bit of a sample of each of these. If I didn't own them, I just got a sample from my Kindle. And it was like, if I don't feel I could stomach reading this again, that is the way I organized them. So they are in order from, if I had to, I could do this again, to God, no, I'd rather die. No. Without further ado, let's just get into it. At the number 5 spot, we have Book of Night by Holly Black. When I read this, I did a buddy read with Tori from Tori Moreau. And I was like, I had a good time with it. I mainly did the audiobook, so I think that made a difference. But I mean, it was a little confusing. I will give you that. Upon getting ready to film this video, I went back to re-listen to the audiobook and I was like, I'm already confused and I just don't really care. So it is now at the number 5 spot for my worst books of the year. But in case you don't know, this is a story about a woman named Charlie who is a thief, con artist, that kind of thing. She has a boyfriend named Vince who has a mysterious past and we're going to try to figure out what's going on with him. In the meantime, she gets hired to get involved with some shadow magic. And in this book, in this world, they manipulate shadows to do bad things, such as steal, kill, stuff like that. And they have to feed their shadows blood. That's about the gist of it. Any much more than that, it gets so confusing. Now, like I said, I had fun with this because I read it with Tori and we were chit-chatting while we were reading it, which made it more fun because we were able to vent, get things out. But again, I'm new to fantasy, but the ones I've read, I pretty much understand. And this one was just so confusing. And then when I got to the end, I was like, what is going on? I felt like the ending was just so rushed and things just got wrapped up too quickly and it didn't make sense. We left off on a cliffhanger, which I said before that I was going to read the next book, but now some more time has passed and I have no idea. Plus, I don't know when the next one's coming out, 2023, 2024. I don't know. But at this point, I don't know where I stand, but it is at the bottom of this list because, like I said, it was so damn confusing. But I was entertained enough to get through the whole thing. You know me, I DNF quite often. If you don't know, I do. So I got through it. I was entertained. I really enjoyed the audiobook and I enjoyed Charlie and her criminal activity and finding out about that and the mystery with her boyfriend, Vince. Now, when you get into the shadow magic part of it, that's when it gets to be a mess and sloppy. So there you have it. Let's move on. Next up, we have the first of 2 Riley Sager books on this list. I'm sure you can guess what the other one is, but we're not there yet. For me, number 4 on this list, 4th worst book of the year for me was The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. I know a lot of you love this book. I did not. Now, as I said, it's at number 4 because it was enjoyable enough for me to get through it. I did not DNF it, but I mean barely. It barely squeaked by. This one is about a woman named Emma who, when she was, I think, 13, 14, she was at a summer camp. Her roommates went missing. It was 3 girls. They were older than her. She got put in the room with them because she showed up late. They couldn't find a spot for her with the kids her age. So they put her with these older girls. Like I said, 3 girls disappeared. She was the last one to see them alive, and one of them shushed her as she was closing the door, and they left. So then fast forward to her as an adult, she is still bothered and plagued by what happened to these girls. And the owner of this camp shows up at her art gallery. Emma is now an artist and she propositions her to come back to the camp because after that happened, all the investigation stuff, the camp closed, but this woman wants to reopen the camp and give it a better reputation. So she asks Emma to come back and work the camp and teach art to the youngsters. So Emma reluctantly returns, but her main thing is she wants to try to figure out what happened and hopefully going back, she can investigate, figure things out. So interesting premise. In Riley Sager fashion, we have 2 timelines. We go in between the present with Emma at the camp as an adult, working with these younger girls, and then the flashbacks to the past of her at 13, 14, how she got to the camp, met these girls, etc. I along for the ride. I mean, it was okay writing wise. It wasn't nothing that grabbed me right away. But once we got into when she got to the camp and we were getting the flashbacks of what happened in the past, I was a little bit intrigued. Now, the 3 girls she was staying with are mean girls. I didn't care for them as characters. And for me, that kind of matters because if I can't stomach characters in a book, it makes it harder for me to read. And I was having a difficult time stomaching the main girl who was the ringleader of these mean girls. But my main issue was, I talked about this before. Some of the things he put in this book, I was not okay with. This 13, 14-year-old girl had a crush on I believe he was 19-year-old boy. Some things happened between them I didn't think was okay for a 13-year-old girl and a 19-year-old boy. Also, there was a whole chapter about her getting her period at the camp and how she dealt with that. I didn't understand why that was there. When I got to the end, there was no need for that unless he was just trying to do some kind of throwback to Carrie or something. I don't know. It was unnecessary and it felt weird for me to read it. I didn't like it. And then, to top it all off, when we got to the end, I could give 2 about the twist. It was one of the ones, no, I couldn't guess it because why would I? I didn't care. The people who were involved, I did not care about when I was reading about them. There's a theme. This comes up again later in this list, but I did not care about them. So when I don't care who's involved in the twist, that just really brings the book down for me because I'm just kind of like, and I wasted my time. That's how I felt when I finished this book. I wasted my time because the only reason I hung on through all that stuff that was bothering me and disturbing me was because I just wanted to know what happened to these 3 girls. And when I found out, I was like, that was it. So number 4, moving on. This list is angering me, getting me fired up. All right, next up at number 3, we have Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. Now, I did a whole book review with spoilers about this book. You can check it out if you haven't seen it. But this one I read at the very end of December of last year, but it bled into January, so it ended up being in my 2022 books list, which I'm glad because I didn't get to talk about this last year, and it probably would have made it into my worst books of 2021 had I finished it in December, but I did not, so here we are. And in this one, we are following a couple, Adam and Amelia. They are going away on an anniversary trip, and we know from the beginning of the book that they have issues. They're hiding things from each other. And Adam suffers from facial blindness, and it's a special disorder. I'm going to put it here on the screen because I don't know how to say it. I was so intrigued by this because, again, they're going away on this trip. They have secrets, and what are they hiding from each other? And what does his facial blindness thing have to do with this? So, promising, right? I was let down. But it's at number 3 because if I had to read this again, I could stomach it. Just like The Last Time I Lied and Book of Night. The top 2 in this list. But yeah, so I was enjoying Alice Feeney's writing. I felt like in the very beginning, it was very suspenseful and atmospheric with Adam and Amelia at this cabin. It was like a snowstorm and, you know, they had the fire lit and candles lit and stuff like that. So again, I love the atmosphere and this place was a little bit creepy. So it was like bordering on a like horror vibes thing. I was into that. But what I was not into was Adam and Amelia. I just did not like them two together. And as we were getting more background on them, I just did not understand why they were together, if I was supposed to care about them, whether they made it or not. And then we had 2 different timelines per se. We had the present with Adam and Amelia in the cabin, and then we were getting journal entries from his wife where she was going over their backstory and history. And there's a bunch of other stuff involved that I won't get into because it's not important for this list. But I was so interested in what the twist was going to be. As I already said, it had to do with his facial blindness. And when we got that twist, I was not happy. I can't say anything because it's the kind of book you just can't really say much without giving anything away. If you want to know, you can go check out that book review because I did get into it in there, but I was not happy with the spoiler. And like I said, I was just so irritated with him and her and their domestic issues. And that was when I was like, I don't think domestic thrillers are for me. And because of the number 1 book on this list, I am further affirmed this is the case. But I just don't like domestic issues, like drama in families and relationships. It just bugs me, and I just get so irritated with the characters and their motives and things I just can't relate to, because we all know about domestic issues. We all have family members, so I always will think about my own family and stuff, and I just usually can't relate to these characters and the things they do, so I get so annoyed. And in this book, I was annoyed with the characters, and I stuck through dealing with them to find out what was going on, and then to find out what the twist was. It just made my time pointless. But again, as far as readability, I did not hate it, you know, besides me being annoyed, but I enjoyed her writing enough to get through it. So that's why I said number 3. But I have since not read another Alice Feeney yet, and I don't know when I will or if. But let's move on to the top 2 worst books of 2022. All right. Next up, in the number 2 spot, we have the second Riley Sager book on this list, which you probably already know if you've been watching my channel. I also did a Riley Sager rankings list, so you can check that out as well. So if you've already seen that, you already know what book this is. It is The House Across the Lake. No surprise there. I don't give 1 stars often. This is one. The number 1 book on this list will be number 2. But in this book, we're following a woman named Casey who is an actress. She's been having issues. She has a drinking problem. So she goes away to her family's lake house to try to get herself together and get away from the spotlight because she's had some drama and some issues, whatever. Now, when she gets to the lake house, she starts watching The House Across the Lake. And she is just so enthralled with this woman that lives there, Catherine, who is a model. And she's so beautiful, etc., etc. She's living with her husband. And one day, Casey is by the lake and she sees Catherine drowning and she saves her and them two strike up a friendship. After that, she keeps watching them in the lake house across the lake because she just, once again, is bored and has nothing else to do with herself besides drink. She sees something happen and Catherine goes missing and she thinks, of course, that the husband is responsible. That's what you need to know going forward. Now, I also participated in a live book club discussion for the Literally Dead Book Club hosted by Kayla, Books and Lala. I will link that below, but we go into all of it in that. Now, this one, I will say, I started off irritated. I was not really into the main character, Casey. I could not really care about her life. And then she kept going on about Catherine and how beautiful she was. I did not care, but I was like, I have to read this for the book club, so we got to get through it. And then it got a little more interesting. I felt like once the accident happened with Catherine and then she started watching her and her husband and drama happened between them and then she started investigating, then I was a little intrigued and I was like, what is going on with this book? What is, what's the twist? And of course, because Casey has a drinking problem, she's an unreliable narrator. So, I'm trying to figure things out and I'm taking all these notes like, oh, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. I forgot to mention also that Casey had a husband who died at the lake house. And so she's a widow. And that's another reason why, part of her drinking issues. So when we got to the twist of this book, oh my God, I can't really say what it involved, but I just was not happy with the direction that it took. We went into another genre. I was not happy with that. I do not think it was done well. It just got stupid to me. It just got ridiculous. Things didn't make sense. I was just so bothered. Usually with Riley Sager's writing, I feel as though things are well plotted, well thought out. I may not like what you did with the ending, like with Last Time I Lied. I didn't care about the twist, but I mean, it was well thought out and whatnot. I just didn't care. But this one, I just felt like, what in God's name were you doing? What happened with the writing? I was too through. And this one, if I had to read it again, no ma'am, no sir, no thank you. So, let's move on to number 1, shall we? Now, this number 1 book on the list, I can't believe it made it to my worst books of 2022 and it just squeaked in because I'm filming this on Sunday, the day that I'm going to participate in the live book club discussion for this book, which these live book clubs aren't doing it for me because I just keep getting books that I don't care for. But I was going to finish it after I filmed this video, but when I got to a certain point in this book and I saw the direction we were going in, I was like, I got to finish this so I can include it in this list. I was hoping something would change my mind, but it didn't. And if you don't know by now, I'm speaking of Secluded Cabin Sleep 6 by Lisa Unger. I'm sorry, not really. Now, I can't put all the fault on the book club, the Lights Out Book Club, hosted by Sav from Riveting Reads, because this was my choice. I threw it in the mix. This was one of my most anticipated books of 2022, and here's why. Because I thought we were getting a locked room mystery, and those are my buzzwords. I just keep falling for it and falling for it and falling for it. Every time I read one, I'm disappointed, but I just keep doing it to myself, and I will continue in 2023. Glutton for punishment. But anyway, what we were told is that we were going to be following 6 couples. This is what I misunderstood. I thought it was 6 friends and some couples were mixed in, but no. 6 couples go away to a cabin for a vacation, a little, like I said, couples retreat. And a woman named Hannah, her brother is the one who organized this trip. Now, Mainly you need to know we're following Hannah. She has her husband Bruce, her brother Mako, and then his wife Liza. And we got another cast of characters. Now, if I was not reading this book for the book club, I would have DNF'd during the prologue. I was so bored. It was unnecessarily long. And I was like, this better play a part later. What's funny is the prologue takes place during Christmas, and I was reading this, during Christmas time, but that's the extent of atmosphere or anything to do with the holiday winter season. The rest of it is like, we get a rainstorm, a bad storm of that way, but it takes place in Florida, so you can read this really any time of year. I don't think that matters. But so once we got into it, I was like, all right, I'm starting to get into it, because we started finding out about the couples, and everybody has secrets. And that is always intriguing to me. That is what intrigued me to read this book. In the synopsis, we knew everybody had secrets. The chef tells them that there was a murder that took place at this cabin, and the power goes out and all hell breaks loose. So I was like, oh, I can't wait. So again, I was intrigued when we had secrets and lies, and everybody was doing that thing when we got, their POV of so-and-so doesn't know what I'm hiding, or if he finds out what I did, I was like, oh, okay. We got a similar thing in rock, paper, scissors. What I find in these books is when you get what they're hiding, just never does it for me. I'm always like, that was it. This took the cake though. But anyway, so that part had me. Then when the stuff hit the fan and we did start to get some action, and this was a rated R thriller. I'm used to PG-13 thrillers, so that was a little bit of part of my problem. There was too much sex and sexuality that I didn't ask for. I knew we were getting 6 couples, but I don't want all that in my thrillers or horror or anything. You should know that by now. Not my thing. If I wanted that, read a romance. But there was that. It was very violent, which again, that doesn't bother me, but I don't know. This just felt over the top, like bad made-for-TV movie type of violence, or just bad thriller movie. Just, The writing, I'm so sorry, but it was not that good to me. There were so many typos throughout. Like, I excused a few in the beginning. I will do that because I understand mistakes happen, but there's editors, and I don't know what happened with the editor, but they were just all throughout to the point where I was like, another one? What's going on here? Where was the editor? What happened? And I just felt the dialogue was just cheesy. When we started getting into, like I said, the drama, action, like the mustache twirling villain, you know why I'm doing this. I just was like, what? And I was making predictions of what was going to happen. I am that type of reader. I want to know. I'm guessing. And what I had was just nothing compared to what was in this book. It was just bland. There was no mystery. What was going on was revealed like probably towards the middle of the book. Like they started telling you who we should be looking out for or who was possibly the bad person. So when we found out that they were, I was like, you already told us that. That's not a twist. There was a twist of like someone was involved with finding out about this person, but I didn't care. And that was my other issue. All of the characters were unlikable. There were 2 people that I gathered by the way the book wrapped up that we were supposed to like them, and they were fine. They were just not as bad as the other ones, but I still didn't care about them. Everybody in this book could have died and I would have cared less. There was a child involved. I would not have wanted anything to happen to them, but other than that, everybody else could have died. I would have cared less. There were so many unnecessary characters in this book. We had 20,000 POVs. I was getting so irritated when we were switching to people's POVs that I didn't care about. And then to get to the end and they didn't even matter. There was this dude. We were getting his POV at the end of the book. He could have been taken out and it would have made no difference. I didn't understand why he was there. I didn't like his POVs. He was a creep. He was a pervert, spying on people, hidden cameras throughout. Why did we need him? Why? I don't know if she just put stuff in here for shock value, but I didn't like it. We found out that there was a cat murdered. I don't like that. I ain't here for that. If you don't know, I have cats. Check the sweater. I'm not here for that. I used to rescue animals. That's neither here nor there. I didn't like it. I didn't understand why we needed that either, because the character that they insinuated did this, it didn't do anything to build up his villain thing. Like, he was not the big bad. I just didn't, oh God, oh. So many things. I'm sure I will go into way more in the live stream discussion because at this point when I'm filming this, I haven't had it yet. But by the time you see this, it will have happened. I will link it below. But I did not like hardly anything about this book, and I would not want to read it again. And I don't think I will read anything else by her. And that is so disappointing because I have raved about her novella, Sleep Tight Motel. It was a horror thriller novella. I loved it. It made it into my Halloween book recommendations video, but this was just nothing like that. I loved that, and this just was, oh God, sorry. Worst of the year. I hate to say it, but I can only be honest. That's what you're here for. That's what you're gonna get. All right, my beautiful people, that is the end of this video and my worst books of 2022. They are done, but you know, we'll see what 2023 holds. Everything can't be great, but overall, I had a pretty good reading year. I think it's gonna be harder for me to pick my best books than it was for me to pick the worst, because I read a lot of good books this year. But anyway, feel free to let me know in the comments what your worst book of 2022 was, or if you agree with me on any of these books. Let's have a little chit chat in the comments. Everybody, let's get in on this worst books thing. But this is all in good fun. I am still enjoying reading. That is the point. And we can't love them all. No, we cannot. So other than that, ways you can support my channel are always linked below. Donate towards coffee, tea, ebooks, all that good stuff. And I think that about wraps it up. So until next time, snuggle up in your hideaway with a good book, better than the ones on this list. Unplug as much as possible from all forms of social media and the news. Be kind to all kind, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.